back again. The sun never set on a nation of gods. The cold and the stars, all that side. Align with his mind and reclaim your power. Let be the shock of the hour.
Welcome back to 19th Element. I'm assisting Dr. Alim. My name is Amira. This is World at War. World going crazy, world going broke. Perhaps World War III. And it's the 19th Element. I will introduce to you Dr. Alim Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Amira, and welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. This is the 19th Element. This is the second half of the survival show, the first half being the Your Immunity Project that happens on Tuesdays at the same time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this is the second part. Now, we don't deal with health issues and public health issues and pandemic issues on the 19th Element. No, we deal with geopolitical issues, economic issues, political issues, war and peace issues, strategic issues. So welcome. This is where it all happens. And we try to untangle the confusion that's in the headlines, the misleading headlines that try to propagandize and literally brainwash the public into misunderstanding the reality that we're all faced with. And so on the 19th Element, we try to look behind the headlines. And I like to give commentary on some of the headlines, to give my viewpoint on it. I don't have to necessarily be right, but we try to throw, if we can, a historical, cultural, religious, spiritual context onto things that may just seem on the surface to be political or personal. And of course, we live at a time of maximum danger, where just this last week, the only remaining nuclear weapons treaty, the START treaty, expired. Mr. Trump refused to extend it. And so we live in a world that has no brakes or guidelines or guardrails against nuclear proliferation. We just experienced war 12 months ago, bombing against Iran over just that issue. Should Iran have nuclear bombs? Well, what about Israel? Should Israel have nuclear bombs? Especially when they have a doctrine called the Samson option, that if they ever feel that they are threatened existentially, hey, they'll nuke everybody and destroy the entire planet. And so without any kind of a nuclear treaty in place, well, then what are the nations supposed to do? Apparently, the only deterrent against American aggression is to be nuclear armed. That's what North Korea found out. They were being threatened day and night until they had a nuclear bomb. That's the mistake that many say that Gaddafi made in Libya, that he gave up his weapons, his defensive weapons, believing the promises, the illegitimate promises of the West. And as soon as he disarmed, like they're telling Hamas right now, disarm. That's what Trump is telling Hamas, disarm. Well, they learned the lesson from Gaddafi. As soon as he disarmed, NATO invaded and assassinated him. And so we live at very dangerous times, and we need to know what's going on. And if you're just watching the mainstream news, you literally do not know what's going on, because their job is to be the propaganda arm of a government that is out of control. And don't think it's your government. I always remind people of what the true definition of democracy is, given to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He said democracy literally means demon rule. They tell you that's the rulership of the people. Well, when did you last have any influence over government policy or what's going on with all of your voting? You know, your voting record. When did you ever influence what's going on? And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is correct. Democracy means demon rule. And we're seeing who the demons are these days. So, Sister Amira, let's go to our headlines, and we'll go through them in random. The world seems to be going random, no rhyme or reason. You can't predict from day to day what you're going to find. You can't predict from day to day who Donald Trump is. Is he the modern day Caesar? He seems to act like it. Does he imagine that he's the Caesar over a modern Roman Empire? And he's going around the world, you know, like the Roman Caesars did, conquering barbarians? Now, some say he might closely resemble the Emperor Caligula, who was the most corrupt and depraved, perverted emperor of Rome. So maybe he's that kind of an emperor, like Caligula. If you don't know who Caligula is, look it up. You'll be aghast. Next image, please. That someone that evil could actually have existed. And so the mask is coming off. The mask is coming off. The MAGA base that got Trump elected, they're finding out, hey, the man that we thought we were electing, hey, that's not him at all. The mask is coming off, and he's a viper. He's a snake. He speaks with a forked tongue. You can't trust anything that this man says. In fact, he seems to be controlled by the Zionist lobby more than he is controlled by his MAGA base. He seems to do everything Bibi Netanyahu tells him to do. He's getting ready to attack Iran because Bibi Netanyahu told him to do. And Miriam Adelson, his biggest campaign donor, she has Trump bought and paid for. She got the receipt in her pocketbook. Trump is bought and paid for. He's a slave. He's not a free, independent man. How do free Americans feel about having an American president that's a slave? That's literally an agent of a foreign country. Literally takes orders from abroad and does nothing for the homeland. Next image, please. Well, Americans are letting him know how they feel about it. That's why his ratings are down in the dumps. He has like about a 30% approval rating. Just like the leaders over there in Europe, they're the most unpopular leaders in the world. That leader in Ukraine, in the UK, his approval rating is something like 13%. These are very unpopular people because they're terrible leaders. They don't do anything right. So is Trump a Caesar or is he a pirate? Is he a pirate? Is he the pirate of the Caribbean? Going around bombing fishing boats, killing people left and right, invading countries, kidnapping presidents of other countries and their wives, holding them hostage, demanding a ransom. I mean, isn't that what pirates do? And he was desperate. We pointed out many times that Trump had to come up with $3 trillion the day after Christmas, and he couldn't do it. So he had to invade and rob and steal like a pirate does, trying to make ends meet. You know how it is when you can't make ends meet. You get desperate. And if you're like Trump, with no character at all, no moral compass at all, hey, you don't mind becoming a pirate? Next image, please. He's threatening everybody in the Western Hemisphere. See, who is Trump? Is he the guy who said, make America great? Or did it turn out make Israel great? Next image, please. Now, of course, everybody's talking about Jeffrey Epstein. What a monster. Epstein like Frankenstein. Epstein, Frankenstein, monsters of all varieties. Did you know there were so many monsters in the world? Perverts, pedophiles, child molesters, Satanists, Luciferians, drinking human blood, sacrificing babies, eating human flesh. And this is all being carried out by the so-called elites. I remember when elite used to mean something good. I would hate to be called an elite nowadays because the connotation would be terrible. And as the files come out, you know, all the secret files, everybody got secret files. Now, the thing that always puzzles me about, you know, not just the Epstein secret files with all the redactions. Well, who's the redactor? I mean, who actually got to read the Epstein files and decided we have to redact this part? Who gets that privilege to read the files and decide what the rest of us are allowed to see? Same with the UFO disclosure project. Who actually knows about UFOs? That is the one that has to decide whether or not we're going to disclose what we know about UFOs. I mean, it's almost the same thing. I always wonder every time I can't remember a password on my computer. But somebody remembers it because they tell me, hey, that's the wrong password. But who is it that's on the other end that knows my password when I can't even remember my password? Who is it gets to look at their secret Epstein files and read them and redact what they want to redact and release what they want to release? Who is that? That's what I want to know. Next image, please. Who is it that has the UFO files? Who is it that has the JFK files, for that matter? Who is it that has the files about whether they really went to the moon or not? Now, here's a universal question. See, when you stand back from things, you know, I mean, really take the long view. Here we are in a universe that stretches for, you know, billions upon billions of light years in all directions. And there we are in the middle of it. And what are we doing? Paying taxes to pedophiles, the so-called elite. Don't that make you feel small? No, I don't just mean that you're just a speck in the galactic universe. No, I mean, doesn't that make you feel small? That they're taking your money and they're financing sex rings and sex trafficking and child molestation, child sacrifice, Satanism, and you paying for it. Do you see why it's important to pray for forgiveness? Because whether you intended it or not, you paid for this stuff. You paid for it. You knew Bill Clinton wasn't on the level. You knew none of these jokers were on the level. And yet you went along with it. You thought you had to. So to a degree, aren't you guilty? You paying taxes to support this wicked system? Why did Honorable Elijah Muhammad say that the so-called American Negro should be exempt from taxes? That's so we wouldn't be financing pedophilia and sex trafficking and all the rest of the evil that belongs to this world. We should be exempt from that. The only people that should be paying for pedophilia should be other pedophiles and other sex deviants. The only people that should be paying for the evil that is going on in this civilization should be devils. Devils should be the only ones paying taxes for the evil that they do. The rest of us should be exempt. Next image, please. Paying taxes to pedophiles. And you call yourself righteous. Look at this. Look at this man. This is a quote from the President of the United States. He's lusting after his own daughter. She has the best body. How does he know? I imagine maybe he changed her diapers when she was a baby. I've said if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. Is that incest? This is the President of the United States, lusting after his own daughter. Next image, please. Newly released Epstein documents include a quote in which he says, I represent the Rothschilds. Jeffrey Epstein represents who? The Rothschilds, the Rothschild family that took over the Bank of England in 1681. I'm talking about that family. They've been running the British Empire since 1681. They've financed every war that England has been in since 1681. and pretty much financed the war that every European nation has been in since 1681, since they took over the financial control of Europe and England, but especially England. And then wasn't it, what, 100 years ago or so that Lord Balfour, are they talking about the pagan god Baal? Lord Balfour, the Balfour Declaration that created, where Lord Balfour wrote a letter to Lord Rothschild saying it is the policy of the British Empire to establish a Jewish homeland in Palestine, because the British had pretty much defeated the Ottoman Empire, or they were well along the way in defeating the Ottoman Empire. And so they felt that they had the colonial master's right to establish a Jewish colony in Palestine, irregardless of the people that already were living there. As though they had no rights. And so the Rothschild family used their huge wealth. And by this time, 100 years ago, remember, this is when the De Beers family discovered diamonds in South Africa. So with the financing coming from diamonds out of South Africa and the fortune of the Rothschild family, they started buying up large tracts of land in Jerusalem and all around Jerusalem, all throughout the Holy Land. And this was a British colonial project to establish an exclusive racist, white supremacist, apartheid state called Israel in the Holy Land. According to General Allenby, the British general who conquered Jerusalem in 1919, he said this is the final crusade. What did he mean by that? It means that the European nations that had been chased out of the Holy Land 6,000 years ago, hey, they've been trying to get back in the Holy Land ever since. And so with the financing of the Rothschilds and the power of the British Empire, they meant to do it. And of course, in order to make that happen, they had to deceive the Jews. The Jewish population around the world, they weren't interested in having an exclusive Jewish state in Palestine. They were doing quite well in Germany. They were doing quite well wherever they settled. And so a propaganda campaign was mounted against the Jewish people to convince them that somehow they were superior to other people and they deserved an exclusive homeland in Palestine. And that was the birth of the Zionist movement, which was the brainchild of the British. Don't blame the Jews. The British deceived the Jews. And of course, they had to deceive the Christians too. And so that's where you get these Christian Zionists from. They hired Cyrus Schofield to rewrite the Bible, to reinterpret the Bible in favor of a state called Israel, to deceive all of the Christians. And of course, they had already developed a colonial form of Islam called Wahhabism that they had already integrated into the Muslim world to corrupt Islam. So it was the British that deceived the Jews, deceived the Christians, deceived the Muslims. And that's why we have the trouble that we have in the world today. All the trouble, all the wars, all the conflict, all the terrorism, all the terrible things that are taking place in the world. If you wanted to trace it all the way back to its root, you would end up in London. The headquarters of every terrorist organization in the world is in London. If you want to talk to somebody that's in charge of ISIS, go to London. That's where they are. It's being run from there. Next image, please. And financed by the Rothschild banking system. So is this Trump? Is this what Trump's going to look like tomorrow? Like a gladiator knight from outer space, declaring war against the whole world? This man is a maniac. I mean, what else must you see before you recognize that this man is a stark, raving, mad lunatic, a psychopathic, narcissistic, sociopathic, psychopathic, probably sexual deviant, child molester, murderer, thief, pirate. Every wicked thing that you can think of is exemplified in this man. And it looks like the entire world is being held victim to the whims of his imagination, of his wicked imagination. Next image, please. Should it really be like that? See, now here's something that you should look up. The Saturnalia. See, there's something it goes all the way back to the Roman Empire. The Saturnalia. It has something to do with Mardi Gras and all those kinds of festivals, but on a deeper level, it has to do with the elevation of a Lord of misrule. Yes, the Lord of misrule. It's a part of the Roman Empire. They elected a Lord of misrule. That's who Trump is. He's the Lord of misrule. They made a movie about it. They called it The Idiocracy. Of course, they had a black man playing the part of an idiot president. Okay, but we see who the real idiot is. He was just an actor. This is the real deal. Next image, please. He's not acting. He's a real idiot. Now, this is from the archives of The Final Call. Trump was lambasted for a racist post that he put up portraying the Obamas as chimpanzees or some kind of ape. And he said he wouldn't apologize, even though they did delete it. But where did he get that from? I'm not saying he originated it. He probably got it from somebody. He probably got it from his spiritual teacher, the rabbi of Jerusalem, who called blacks monkeys. So where did Trump get the idea that the Obamas were monkeys? Well, from the idea, from the thinking of the Zionist supporters. And of course, he's not just being supported by Zionists and he's not a Zionist. He is a Zionist. As a matter of fact, he's Jewish. Most Americans don't know that Trump converted to Judaism in 2017. He's a member of the Shabbat sect in Brooklyn under the spiritual leadership of the Reeb, Menachem Schneerson. He and Bibi Netanyahu are part of the same religious cult. They believe that Menachem Schneerson was the Messiah. And even though he passed away in the 90s, they believe if they can establish the third temple in Jerusalem, that he's going to come back to life. That he's going to appear as the Messiah of the Jews. That's how crazy these people are. I mean, I know we have freedom of religion. You can believe anything you want. But don't hold the whole world under nuclear hostage based on your harebrained belief system. Next image, please. So Ramadan is just around the corner, and people have a different feel about it this year. And I'll bear witness, I have a different feel about it this year. I think this Ramadan is going to be something. So prepare yourself. If you don't know what Ramadan is, then do a little study. But it's the month in which the Holy Quran was revealed to Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam. But it has even greater significance than just that, although that's enough. And so Ramadan's right around the corner. We're in the month of Shaban according to the Arabic calendar. And Shaban is the month that you prepare yourself for success during Ramadan. Next image, please. And of course, this month is the Savior's Day month. This is Savior's Day month for us over here. We're looking forward to February the 26th, the birthday of Master Farad Muhammad, our Savior Allah. And of course, this year we have a Savior's Day week, if you will, starting on the 22nd out of Detroit, an address from Minister Ismail Muhammad on behalf of Minister Farrakhan. And then it continues through the week, with prayer and fasting, Kalfani Radio Network, having different programs. And then on the 26th day of February at Howard University, a live program, celebrating the birth of our Savior Allah and honoring some of the elders and those pioneers who built the Nation of Islam from the beginning, to give them their deserved recognition for their hard work and sacrifice over the length of their lives. And then, of course, there's workshops for youth, economic workshops, all kinds of things. This is being organized by attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz and others. And so all the community leaders are going to be there at Howard University. Of course, they're going to be broadcast live online. And so we expect literally millions of people around the world to be tuned in on February the 26th. And they're going to continue the 27th and 28th. And of course, it's going to culminate on March the 1st with the spiritual lecture of prayer and fasting. And of course, during that week, the whole theme is going to be about national deliberative dialogue to address the issues that plague us. So Ramadan, Let's take advantage of the spiritual energy of Ramadan. And let's really delve into the meaning of Rahman and Rahim, the beneficent or compassionate and the merciful. Next image, please. And take advantage of those attributes of Allah. And so through prayer and fasting and other spiritual practices, we find that we are actually connected, some say on a quantum level, to the entire universe, because we are the original people of the earth, the makers, the owners, the cream of the planet Earth, gods of the universe. Next image, please. So elevate your consciousness. So is this where we're headed, or is this where he's headed? See, separation is a must. If you're with this guy, you're headed to World War III. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said America would be defeated and destroyed in a lake of fire in Europe. So can't you see that being kindled right now? I think Russia is tired of Mr. Trump's lies and double talk, talking out of both sides of his mouth, you know, his treachery. They even tried to assassinate Vladimir Putin while Trump was on the phone with Putin. They're using the phone call to locate where Putin is, so they send 91 drones trying to assassinate him. So now what do you think is going to happen next? So World War III in Europe, World War III in Iran, World War III in Taiwan. Where is it not war? There's war in Sudan. There's war in Somalia. Trump is bombing Somalia every day. It's just not bad news for the Somalis up there in Minnesota. No, Trump is bombing Somalia every day, just like he bombed Nigeria. Next image, please. Tell me where it's not war. Now, they wouldn't apologize for what they did with the Obamas, but somebody said, hey, we're going to pay you back. And this actually looks more realistic to me. I mean, I'm not trying to influence your opinion, but to me, I mean, hey, next image, please. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, I guess. Now, here's some good news. I mentioned in the past we wanted to publish the short manual on deliberative dialogue that was so useful during the days of the commission, but it was never actually published and made available to the public. Now it is. So on Amazon, you can go get this book written by myself, and it will give you the general purpose and meaning of dialogue, how it is to be used, what it's for, the roles, the rules, the regulations, the responsibilities of deliberative dialogue. So that when we convene a national deliberative dialogue on the issues that plague us, you see, then we'll actually be operating in a proper way according to the rules of deliberative dialogue, which is not different than the scientific method used by scientists all over the world, which is not different than the Socratic method used by philosophers all over the world. And so we just need to learn the basic rules and responsibilities and roles of a deliberative dialogue session. And then the first dialogue would be to decide what are the burning issues that are plaguing us? What are the problems that are preventing us from being as successful as we would like to be? There's no person who is completely satisfied. There's no person, even if you think things are great, you know they could be better. Even if you say things are great right now, you know they could be better. So what must be done to make things better, no matter what your opinion is of the way things are right now? Now, of course, deliberative dialogue has nothing to do with a debate. When you have a debate, that's like a competitive sport. Somebody wins, somebody loses. And usually the casualty in the debate is like the casualty of war, or the truth. So dialogue is all about the truth, arriving at a consensus on truth. And so it's not a combat, it's not even a discussion. It's actually each person expressing their truth based on the principle that wherever two or three of you are gathered together in my name, there I, Allah, God, I am in the midst of you. And so that's how we arrive at solutions to problems that none of us individually have the ability to solve. So you want to be a part of it, so get the book. It's available on Amazon. Next image, please. It's only available as a Kindle publication. We may be able to change that in the near future, but right now it's just loaded as Kindle. So just go to Amazon, put the title of the book in or my name, and it'll come right up. Next image, please. If you don't have the Kindle app, you'll have to download the Kindle app to your device. Now this is a drone shot from overhead in Tehran, Iran. They said all over the country in 1,000 different cities and towns. They had over 20 million people that came out to support the government. They said 23 to 26 million people in a country of 90 million. So basically, just about a third of the country was showing their support for the country, for the government, for the supreme leader, for the what is it, the 47th anniversary of the Islamic Revolution that established the Islamic Republic of Iran. Remember, Iran was overthrown by the CIA in 1953 when they tried democracy. They were a democratic country in 1953. Then Kermit Roosevelt and the CIA and MI6, they conspired and overthrew the democratically elected government in Iran and installed a dictator called the Shah of Iran. And he ruled with ruthlessness and cruelty for decades as a puppet ally of America. And then in 1979, the Iranian people, these same people in the streets now, or their parents, they overthrew the American dictator, kicked him out of the country, and all of his henchmen. So most of the Iranians that you run into in America, hey, they were the henchmen of the Shah. They weren't the people that are in the streets in Iran now. These are religious people, and they established the Islamic Republic of Iran. And when you think about it, there's no other country in the world that calls itself Islamic. And they actually mean it. Next image, please. I've been to Iran a few times. Now, one of the things that they were upset about in Iran is that because of the release of the Epstein files, they realized that America and England, in Europe, these are Baal worshipers. They're worshiping the pagan Babylonian god Baal. That's why they sacrifice children. That's why they have all these rituals that they do. And you can call it satanic, but it actually goes back to ancient Babylon and Baal worship, where they sacrifice their children to Baal. This is back with Nimrod, the enemy of Abraham and the righteous. So the Iranian people, they understand that that's the same thing today. The same enemies to Abraham and the righteous people 4,600 years ago is the same people today that are the enemy of the righteous. And they worship the same God that they worshiped back then. It's not Allah. It's not Jehovah. They're worshiping Baal. It's Baal worship, pagan worship. Next image, please. So when Trump says he wants to raise a golden arch in Washington, D.C., it's in worship of Baal. Next image, please. So they burned that image of Baal in Tehran. They burned it, which is to say that they understand that the entire Western world is under the control of Baal, pagan worship, satanic worship. And it has to be destroyed by fire. Next image, please. Now, this is the president of Colombia. Pedro survives assassination bid. Shock claim after Trump meeting. See, Trump set you up with a meeting, negotiations. But it's only to set you up to be assassinated. And so they almost got him, but he got away. He had a good security team that made the right move at the right time. Otherwise, him and his daughters, they were in a helicopter. They would have been destroyed. They'd have been killed. He barely escaped. Now they're claiming that it was drug cartels that were trying to assassinate him. But who runs the drugs in Colombia if it's not the CIA? Next image, please. So it was the CIA trying to kill him. Now, this is something to pay attention to. A U.S.-led regime change operation in Iran would be tantamount to declaration of war on China. China gets 20% of their oil, which is vital for their industry, from Iran. So do you think that China is going to allow Mr. Trump to cut off their oil supply from Iran? Not only that, what about the Belt and Road Initiative, where they have already built high-speed rail from from China all the way to Tehran to carry consumer goods out of China into the what they call the Middle East and Africa, and then north into Europe. They've spent billions of dollars. And of course, the hub in the Belt and Road Initiative is Iran. That's the hub. If you destroy Iran, then the Belt and Road Initiative is a bygone dream. And so the Chinese and the Russians and the other members of BRICS, Brazil, India, South Africa, and there's 10 other members now, full members in BRICS, and about 50 other countries trying to join. So that's the stakes. If U.S. is able to topple the regime in Iran like they did in 1953 and install a puppet again, then it means the Belt and Road Initiative is dead in the water. Next image, please. So will China and Russia and the other BRICS nations allow that to take place? I would say no, not a chance. Not a chance. So we touched on this last night on the Your Immunity Project. And I predicted from the minute they passed the Obamacare bill, I said that would bankrupt the country. If they do all the stuff they say they're going to do, that's going to bankrupt the country, and it certainly has in a very short period of time. And of course, it was fraught with fraud, and now that's being targeted. And of course, they're going to use the corruption issue to outlaw the program, to dismantle the program, to deny people health care. So that's why we're coming out with the Abundant Life Health Care Plan. Because Obamacare, hey, that's history. Medicare, Medicaid, even private insurance plans, they're either being gutted and defunded, or else the health premiums are going through the ceiling and they're unaffordable. Trump says he's going to send everybody a check for $1,500 so they can buy their own health care. Well, lots of luck with that. So we're trying to set up Abundant Life Health Care Plan, and you'll be hearing about that in the near future. Next image, please. Because what's so good about the American healthcare system in the first place? If it was such a good healthcare system, how come everybody's dying of cancer and everything else that you can think of? Now, again, this is what it's really all about in the background. The total debt is out of control. And now China is dumping, and Japan is dumping, and Korea is dumping the U.S. Treasury bonds. Now the debt is just out of control. And so that's the desperation that's being felt in Washington. How are we going to pay our creditors? How are we going to pay our bills? How are we going to pay for the goods that we import from China and other countries? We can't pay for it. How can we pay for the oil that we need? How can we pay for it? So they're going around committing criminal acts, trying to steal all they can steal to preserve the impression that America's doing great, like Trump says. Next image, please. We're going to reindustrialize America. Yeah, right. Now, wouldn't you know it? Tit for tat in Venezuela. They kidnapped Maduro and his wife. Now the leader of the opposition got kidnapped. Isn't that something? Political crisis in Venezuela. One of the main opposition leaders, Juan Pablo Guanipa, has been kidnapped in Caracas. Yeah, in broad daylight, they grabbed him. He was a part of the conspiracy against Maduro, along with that lady that won the Nobel Prize, Machado. Next image, please. So they done kidnapped him. Ain't that something? Yeah, here's Pedro from Colombia again. He escaped being killed in an assassination plot because Trump is already threatening. Wasn't that Trump that threatened him last week? And now here you see they tried to kill him. So again, what are you dealing with? You're dealing with a cold-blooded murderer in the White House. He's no different than Bibi Netanyahu. Next image, please. Lawless. He said he doesn't need international law. He goes by his own moral compass. But what kind of moral compass does a man like this have? See, who is the real Trump? What's his true identity? What's he really up to? I thought he was going to drain the swamp. Next image, please. Do you know who you're dealing with? Is he a civilized man or a barbarian? He trashed international law. He walked away from every treaty that America ever signed. He broke his word at every turn. So he has turned the world into what you could say he's replaced international law with the law of the jungle. This is a barbarian. This is a barbarian. And he's turning the world into a jungle where people are being reduced down to the level of beasts. Next image, please. How can you negotiate with a barbarian? Now, of course, this is Trump on day one. Who were his first visitors? They had the first opportunity to talk to the new president. The men in black, of course. The Shabbat cult from Flatbush, Brooklyn. And of course, they gave Trump his marching orders. And that's what he's carrying out ever since. Next image, please. Every elected official at a high office, governors, senators, congressmen, they all get visits from the men in black. Yeah, all over the world. As soon as you get elected to high office, you get a visit from the men in black. And a lot of times they give you your bank card or your bank book. You didn't know it, but they opened up a Swiss bank account in your name. Yes, they did. You got elected to Congress. Now you got $1 million in the bank in Switzerland in your name. You say, I didn't open that. We opened it for you. Now, what are you going to do if we reveal the fact that you have a Swiss bank account? See, you're going to look like you're corrupt. So you might as well play along with us, you see, and you can keep the money, you see. And if the more you comply with our wishes, with our agenda, then the more money will accumulate in your Swiss bank account or wherever they put it, in Panama, the Cayman Islands. They control all the financial systems. Now, I've touched on this years ago when Jeffrey Epstein just got in the news. Jeffrey Epstein is just a franchise owner of Zavig McDowell, or Zavi, however you say it, Zavi McDowell. Zavi McDowell is a criminal organization that was started about 250 years ago in what is now called Poland and Ukraine, the old Khazarian Empire. This is the Khazarian Mafia. Ukraine has been the center of corruption for centuries. And this is the organized criminal group that runs sex trafficking, runs drug trafficking, runs prostitution, runs money laundering. These are the people that run it. They've been doing it for hundreds of years. And this is where Jeffrey Epstein comes from. And he was just the franchise owner of Zvi McDowell in New York City. There's a Jeffrey Epstein in Los Angeles. There's a Jeffrey Epstein in Mexico City. There's a Jeffrey Epstein in Rio de Janeiro. There's an Epstein in Tokyo. There's an Epstein in Calcutta. There's an Epstein in London and Paris and Berlin. This is an international criminal organization of sex traffickers. They started in Ukraine. It's a Jewish organization, Jewish organized crime. And basically what they did is they prostituted Jewish girls. They took them out of Ukraine and out of Poland and shipped them all over the world, put them in brothels in Argentina, Brazil, all over the world, turned them into prostitutes. And it's been big business for hundreds of years. And then, of course, setting up these honey traps. You can entrap politicians and influential business people, religious leaders, and then, of course, you can use that for blackmail and bribery. Next image, please. So Trump is just being blackmailed. All the politicians in Washington, D.C., they all visited with Jeffrey Epstein in one way or another. Bill Clinton, that's why he wants to testify in public. He says he knows for a fact that 30% of the politicians in Washington, D.C. are pedophiles, and he's going to name all of them. So that's why they probably won't let him testify in public. You going to name the names? You see, but that's his protection. Yeah, I'll tell everything I know. I'll tell on everybody. And that would be the downfall of many a political career. So now this is what's been on my mind, of course, all my adult life as a surgeon, as a doctor, is not a virtual hospital for Muhammad, but an actual hospital for Muhammad. But now, since we don't have an actual hospital for Muhammad, we weren't able to do that. Well, let's see if we can do a virtual hospital. So starting with my website that's under construction right now, we want to see if we can do that. And then that's where the 9-point or 9-step healthcare plan will emerge. That will benefit most people. Now, obviously, a virtual hospital is not going to handle emergencies, and trauma cases and things like that. No, that needs hands-on. But a lot of things, maybe 70% of what bothers people could actually be handled virtually. And so we're going to try to prove that point, that we can do the best we can to serve one another virtually until we can do it actually. Next image, please. So you can help support that GoFundMe account, Your Immunity Project. And I want to thank all of those who have supported us with your donations in the past. And we're still about, well, I don't really know. I would say we're probably about $18,000 short of where we want to be. Phase 1 is already paid for of the project. Phase 2, when I say 18,000, I'm guessing, maybe somebody will correct me, but I think we're about $18,000 short on that second phase. So do all you can to help, because ultimately it's going to help you. So I think those were all of our headlines and images, and so maybe you have a thought or question that you would like to share. So raise your hand if you're with us on Zoom or wherever you might be, and we'll try to bring you up or read your question for you.
There is a hand up, Brother Dawood. You can go ahead with your question or comment.
Assalamu alaikum family, Assalamu alaikum prayer for your family, prayer rising. Assalamu alaikum doc.
Wa alaikum salam.
I was sitting here thinking earlier this week, I got a content creator that I watch on YouTube, and he was talking about for some reason with Iran and Israel, the focus of the negotiation talks has shifted. They have shifted from the nuclear program, which was bombed, I think last month. They bombed it, they snuck and bombed it while in negotiations. But now the focus has shifted to the actual ballistics program. And it's interesting because when they bombed a nuclear site in Iran, they bombed Israel hard, and Israel was arresting journalists and not letting them publicize the pictures of the damage that was done by the Iranian ballistic missile program. So, and it's a lot of other stuff that's along with that. It takes so many months to replenish the sling, something, what is it, the Iron Dome missiles. It takes so many months, and in a year's time, I think they only produce 4. But my question is, has America and Israel lost their military advantage in the Middle East? We know they lost their influence worldwide, but have they lost the military edge in the Middle East is my question.
Well, the short answer to your question is yes, obviously. That's not just in the Middle East, that's globally. what's going on in Ukraine shows you the same thing, that the Russians have military systems that are superior to anything that America and her NATO allies are giving to Ukraine. Uh, and the same is true with China. China is showing and displaying weapons beyond the capability of America and America's allies, including Israel. For example, Russia has hypersonic missiles. America doesn't. Israel doesn't. Iran has hypersonic missiles. America doesn't. Israel doesn't. China has hypersonic missiles. India has hypersonic missiles. North Korea has hypersonic missiles. America doesn't have hypersonic missiles, nor does Israel have hypersonic missiles. Hypersonic missiles make their Iron Dome useless. So in the beginning of the 12-day exchange in June, when Iran got sucker punched by Israel and the United States, because Trump deceived them into thinking we're going to be negotiating, and instead of negotiations, there was a sneak attack against Iran trying to decapitate the leadership, trying to assassinate the supreme leader. And they did manage to assassinate some senior military leaders. But in a relatively short period of time, Iran responded and retaliated. And as you said, the retaliation was very severe. Not only was the Israeli Defense Force headquarters hit, that's like hitting the Pentagon. The Mossad headquarters was destroyed. And in total, according to reports from whistleblowers, the damage done to Israel was estimated to be more than $50 billion. And it was Israel that begged Trump to get the Iranians to agree to a ceasefire. And they did agree to a ceasefire because being an Islamic republic, the Quran says, fight with those who fight with you. But when they stop fighting you, then you stop fighting them. So Iran stopped fighting, but they could have continued. And now this time, to get to your point about the current negotiations, the truth of it is Iran has made it very clear. The supreme leader made it very clear about a month ago. It's pointless to negotiate with America. You can't negotiate with Satan. What agreement with Satan could you have that they would keep? And so they go through the motions of a so-called negotiation, but if you mention the issues, have they agreed to give up their nuclear program? No. They made it very clear, we're not interested in nuclear weapons. We don't need nuclear weapons. We have conventional weapons that are better than your nuclear weapons. So we don't need nuclear weapons. It's anti-Islamic to have nuclear weapons. And we're the Islamic Republic of Iran. So we don't want nuclear weapons, but we do want civilian nuclear power. As far as our ballistic missile program, where we have hundreds of thousands of ballistic missiles, all of whom can reach Israel, all of whom can reach all of the American bases in the Middle East. They even announced last week a Karamshar missile that has a range of 10,000 kilometers. So Iran is saying to Trump, we'll bomb Mar-a-Lago, Mr. Trump. We'll bomb Washington, D.C., Mr. Trump. You don't have anything to stop what we have. And so the media is just waging a propaganda campaign, making it seem like there's some kind of negotiation going on. But if you actually look at don't pay so much attention to what's being said, look at what's being done. Mr. Trump sent, 3 aircraft carrier groups against Iran? Now they're in retreat. Now they backed up 1,400 kilometers from Iran, hoping that they're out of the range of the missiles that Iran could use to sink an aircraft carrier, sink a battleship. They got submarines. They got all kinds of things in the Straits of Hormuz. And of course, if they decide to close the Straits of Hormuz, do you know that the price of oil would go up to $700 a barrel? You would be paying $20 a gallon for gasoline at the pump if Mr. Trump goes ahead and does what Netanyahu wants him to do, which is to attack Iran. And I don't know how he could really want Trump to attack Iran, because as soon as Iran retaliates, that's the end of Tel Aviv. That's the end of Israel. And I imagine if you were a military commander in Iran, the first thing that you would hit would be the nuclear facilities of Israel. You would take them off the map as a nuclear power. And then you would just finish the job, because as long as you let them survive as a nation, you see, they're going to continue the genocide against the Palestinians. They're going to continue to attack Lebanon. They're going to continue to attack Syria. They're going to continue to attack Jordan. They're going to continue to attack Yemen. They're going to continue to attack and threaten Egypt. They're going to continue to do all the bad things that they've been doing for the last 77 years. So I think if it starts again, and I'm sure it will, that this time, when the war ends, when the smoke clouds of war lift, Israel will no longer exist. And America will be driven out of the Middle East. There will not be a single American base or a single American soldier left in the Middle East. They all will be driven out. So that's my take on it, anyhow. I could be wrong. So no, America doesn't have any weapons to equal the weapons of Iran, Russia, or China, and for that matter, North Korea. And some of those weapons have been made available to other nations, not just those major ones. So thank you for that question. Is there anyone else with a question or comment? And we'll take, I guess, one more. It's almost 8 o'clock.
Not that I see, Doc.
Okay. Well, then that will do it for the 19th element one more time. And we hope to see you next week. And please don't forget to go to Amazon and order your copy. It's a Kindle version of the short manual on deliberative dialogue. And inshallah, we'll be with you on Sunday at 9 a.m. with prayer and fasting. And we want to, I'm going to give my list of what I think are the burning issues or the pressing issues that are plaguing us and that need to be a part of the national deliberative dialogue. In other words, between now and Savior's Day week, we need to put together an outline of an agenda, of a programmatic agenda, for Savior's Day, so we don't get lost in the confusion, and disorganization. So if we're about the reorganization and restructuring of the Nation of Islam, then we have to start out that way, organized and structured. So the first step, get the book, read it, memorize the rules, the regulations, the roles, and the responsibilities. And then we can get started with our national deliberative dialogue. So thank you for being a part of the 19th element. I've been your host, Dr. Alim, assisted by Sister Amira Bey. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Thank you, Dr. Alim and Sister Amira Bey. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Ministries and ministry hands, administer the medicine and wake up the dead. So let us attempt the uphill road. The book say what will make you know it's the freest slave. By your mind, to view my brother's hunger is mine. To take care of widows and follow the shout. To humbly pray and not be proud. This is being proud of being called by his name. We pray for his coming, glad he came. Call for the messenger, call to the same. Called by the minister who called again. Tonight he called us to live in sin. And feel the fire to lick you in. But your agreement with hell won't stand. Do you even know the Elijah was slain? Just the volume, turn up the sound. You can believe me, listening now. I'm minister, God, teacher, and friend. Let the world know we back again. The sun never set on a nation of gods. The moon, the stars, all that side. Align with his mind and reclaim your power. Let that be the shot of the eye. Education, agriculture. technology, arts, and culture. Health, human services, justice, defense, information, and spiritual development, trade and commerce, and of course there's all types of different task forces coming together the right kind of way to execute a perfect old time play. A coach, a team, and a kingdom of being. Two backing him up, we got three. I got dairy and Christ is here. But James can't get that out of his head. So seeking assistance, patience, and prayer. A double overtime type. So adjust the volume, turn up the sound. You can believe it, listening now. I'm Minister God, teacher and friend. Let the world know we back again. The sun never set on a nation of gods. The moon and stars, all that stars. Align with his mind and reclaim the power. Let that be the
Shock of the hour.
He coming back to build his power. When he said, set yourself in the said, Matthews, this small mystery was said, I'll make
Perfect rulers,
Now that sound like straight words to me. So I'm trying to be on some let's get free. And y'all thought this was just a magic thing. But here's the reason Mike got 6 rings.
Mike got rings, Mike got power, clutch performer, shock of the hour. It is what it is, young Mike can't lie. We play to win, they play to try, so we stay focused, build a nation. Negroes, devils, spectate the leader. So I pray my plan, work my prayer, cause I'm a double overtime type of player.
Just the volume one last time. Rewind it back to check the rhyme. I'm Mr. God, teacher and friend. Let the world know we back again. It's like a second, the nation of gods, the moon and stars, all that stars. Align with his mind and reclaim the power. Let that be the shock of the hour.